I have to say, I get pretty excited before I go out on a shoot. I've usually scouted out the area, so I know what I'm looking for, and I've done some pre-visualization. I've pored over maps and checked the timing of the sunset and the sunrise, as well as the placement of the sun throughout the day, depending on what I want to shoot. I love to get the gear out and clean the cameras and the lenses, and make sure everything is working and functioning properly. And I want to make sure I have everything that I need, everything from lens cleaners to lens hoods. Sometimes weather and lighting can change very rapidly, so the better prepared I am, the smoother things will go when I'm out in the field. As I'm getting ready, I like to think about what the lighting is going to be like, and how I'm going to work with that light to create something new. Photography is a technical process, but it's also a creative and almost spiritual process. It's a mental exercise as much as it's a reaching in and finding that something inside myself that can't be explained. That part of me that sees the world in a way that nobody else sees it. There's a great sense of anticipation, knowing that soon I'm probably going to see something very beautiful, and if everything goes well, I'll make an image of it. My very first camera was a plastic box. I think it was my 12th birthday when I got it, and the shutter button was so hard to push that literally every picture turned out blurry because of camera shake. I began using my paper route money to buy Instamatics and whatever camera I could afford at the time. At one point, my father said, "Stop buying cheap cameras and save your money until you can buy the best camera you can get." I took that advice to heart, and I remember, rather than going to Kmart, I went to a real camera store and bought a Minolta X700. It had won many awards as the best camera of that year, and I love that camera. I shot for the school newspaper and the yearbook. I shot our camping trips and other family excursions. We lived about 30 miles outside of Seattle, so I would ride my bicycle into the city and spend all day shooting whatever I could find. And then at school, we had a dark room where I would spend hours developing my film and watching my images come to life. I couldn't have cared any less about history or math, but I was totally hooked on photography. I kept shooting into my adulthood, but one day I took my young children to the park, and when we returned to the car, I found a door open, and all of my camera gear had been stolen, including that X700. I was heartbroken. I really let my photography go. I didn't shoot anything for years. In time, I moved more in the direction of videography. I began to fly around the world and film commercially for the resort and travel industry. I saw a lot of amazing places and things, and in my travels, I naturally began to take photos with my phone. And soon, I started to experiment and feel the joy of photography again. It wasn't long before I wanted to do more professional photography. That experience reminded me of what a photographer does. A photographer looks for light, whether it's the soft, warm glow on your children's faces, a golden sunrise raking across a mountain ridge, or a distant blue star twinkling in the evening sky. A photographer looks to where there is light. I bought a camera, and I fell in love again with portrait, street, and architectural photography. And I found again that special peace and solitude that comes with hiking into a remote location to take a photograph of something that no one else will see, to experience an event or a moment in time that can only be shared with an image. Today, I enjoy watching the colors change in the sky as the sun approaches the horizon. And as it finally peeks over and touches the tops of the mountains, setting them on fire with its brilliant light, there is a feeling of warmth and assurance, a feeling of quiet celebration that a new day has begun. It takes time to set up, so I like to arrive early so I don't rush the process. Photography can be a waiting game. I build the camera, get my composition exactly how I want to see it, choose the right filter if needed, meter and calculate the exposure in my head, set the aperture and shutter speed, and then wait for the light to be just right. I love the process of photographing something beautiful, knowing that I've captured something truly unique. And when the event is over, and I know I have some great images, I like to step away from the camera, relax, and take a little time to enjoy the moment for myself. What I see in my mind aren't images that I'll hang on a wall, but memories that I'll hold on to for a very long time. Hanksville is a small community located in southeastern Utah of the United States. It's surrounded by interesting features, both natural and man-made. Some might say it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's a great place for a photographer. Nearby is Factory Butte, a striking prominence that's surrounded by gray, powdery dunes and plateaus. When I find a location like this, I may return to it many times to see it in different seasons, with different lighting conditions and weather. Part of the fun of photography is that we never have to make the same image twice if we don't want to. The world around us is always changing, and that's true in the way that we see it and in the way that we photograph it. In landscape photography, we can focus on the grand vistas, or we can seek out the finer details. Like a boulder the size of a bus that somehow fell from the top of a mountain onto the dunes below. Deciding how to capture these details can be just as demanding. A good composition is not always as apparent. I like to take my time to consider the various angles and how the light is falling on the surface. I try to be very thoughtful about these kinds of images because sometimes it's the details that can make for a more intimate photograph. Photographer, and I use my camera to share my point of view. I like to create images that remind myself and others that life is beautiful. And whether I'm photographing interesting people, animals, buildings, sparkling rivers, or golden mountaintops, I feel very blessed to be alive and to enjoy this fascinating world we live in.